Now just imagine this. You have just closed a big business deal entirely online. No papers were exchanged, just emails and a digital signature. A week later, the other party hints that the contract might not be legally binding since nothing has been signed on paper. Panic sets in, right? Are you really protected under the law? Welcome to the new age of digital signatures and e-contracts in India. In today's video, we will demystify what's actually legal about signing contracts electronically. We'll break down the Indian laws in plain English and share real stories of businesses that navigated this terrain. By the end, you will know how to embrace the e-contracts confidently and avoid costly pitfalls. Now, why digital signatures matters for the Indian business, guys? Digital transactions have become the norm, especially after the pandemic pushed us towards remote work, guys. Businesses, large or small, are executing contracts via email, signing PDFs, or using platforms like DocSign and Aadhaar eSign. It's a faster and more efficient than chasing for physical signatures, right? In fact, Indian companies regularly use e-signatures for things like vendor agreements, employee offer letters, and NDAs. But convenience aside, the big question remains: are these e-contracts legally enforceable in India? I would want to talk about the e-contracts in HR, that is with employees, versus B2B contracts. The legal validity of e-signatures doesn't really change whether it's a contract with a business partner or with an employee. The law applies equally. But there are some practical differences that I would want to talk about. To name a few, the first one is employee offer letters and NDAs. Now, many companies send out digital offer letters which the candidate accepts via e-sign or via even a simple email reply, right? Now, these are valid contracts. Now, for instance, an NDA signed electronically by an employee is enforceable just like a paper NDA. Now, if the employee later leaks the information, you can actually sue for breach, and that e-signed NDA is your evidence. Now, one thing is to be mindful is of employee consent. An employee might later claim that they felt pressurized or pressured to sign something electronically without reading. To avoid these issues, always give employee a clear chance to review the document. So just as you would in a paper document, right? And maybe a little tutorial that by e-signing, they are agreeing to the terms and the conditions. Now, in case of an litigation, you can show the employees have willingly and knowingly signed it. How? Now, having an audit log that they viewed the document for X minutes before they signed could actually help your case. Now, to compare this scenario with maybe a vendor contract or maybe a supplier contract that is in a business to business deals, right? Now, in business to business deal, especially recurring ones, business might use online platforms or emails to manage the contracts. For example, a vendor might send you a link to the terms and maybe you just click to accept. Or you might send a purchase order via email that the vendor confirms by the email, right? Now, these are everyday e-contract scenarios for every business. Now, ensure that whoever in your company is actually handling this has proper authority and is aware of the consequences. For example, if the purchase manager clicks accept on a pricey software license agreement, its terms and conditions without a legal review, the company is still bound by the contract, right? Now, internally, set policies on e-contract approvals. Externally, when dealing with a smaller vendor, you might sometimes face a lack of tech. Example, a vendor who doesn't have a digital sign setup might just print, sign, and scan. It's okay, but just verify you got the full document back and signed and acknowledge the receipt. Now, whether this is legally binding, obviously yes. The challenge is just that make sure that no pages are actually missing or tampered. Now, remember that whether it's a B2B contract like we just discussed about vendors or a HR agreement with an employee, the key is the evidence and the clarity that you need to have. The advantage of an old school paper contract was people took it more seriously with signatures on the pages, witness, etc. With e-contracts, you need to still insist the same seriousness, guys. Double check everything, keep the records, and use secure methods for important documents. Now, just quickly coming to the next section. Now, if a digital contract is actually breached, what are the remedies or the enforcement you can do? So, what do you do if the other party breaches a e-contract? The remedies are essentially the same as for any breach of contract. You can issue a legal notice, invoke the arbitration if your contract has an arbitration clause, or file a lawsuit for damages or specific performance as applicable. Now, Indian courts will enforce a valid contract whether signed electronically or on paper. The format doesn't change your rights. However, there are few strategies to strengthen the enforcement of e-contracts. The first being leverage the law's presumptions. Now, if you anticipated a potential fight and you had the contract signed with a digital signature or Aadhaar e-signature, you are in a strong position. As mentioned, courts presume such signatures are genuine. Now, this means the burden is on the breaching party to prove that something was wrong with the signature, which is hard if you followed the due process. Now, this can expedite the court's acceptance that a binding contract exists. It closes off the "I never signed this document" argument pretty quickly. Now, as a second tip, just gather your evidence package together. In a digital contractual dispute, you will actually want to present the entire digital trail to make your case stronger. That could include the server logs showing an e-signature transaction, the emails, the SMS around the signing, and the obviously section 65B certificate to get those electronic records admitted. Now, if you used an e-sign service, you often get a certificate of completion or a detailed log. Those are golden code to show who signed when. Providing a brief affidavit under section 65B to say yes, this is from our system and hasn't been altered, etc., will save your day. The third point would be the remedies that are the same as the actual contract. Now, if there's a breach is a breach, be it electronic contract or a simple paper contract. If the other side fails to deliver what was promised, you can sue for the breach of the contract under the Contract Act principles. For instance, if a vendor signed an online supply agreement and then doesn't supply, you could claim compensation for the losses, guys. The fact is that it was an e-contract doesn't change the remedy you have. Now, one slight nuance that if the breach involves some fraudulent misuse of a digital signature or hacking, that might open the door to additional remedies under the IT Act, like Section 43, penalizing the unauthorized access or data theft, or even criminal charges under the cyber laws. But those situations are rare in a normal business dispute. The another remedies, obviously, as in a normal contract, is the arbitration clauses. Now, many contracts include arbitration agreements. Now, if you're e-signed and it's still perfectly valid to start the arbitration. For example, in an employee signed an appointment letter with an arbitration clause for dispute, the employee can't later say, "I never physically signed, so I don't agree to arbitrate." The e-signature is binding and courts can force the compliance with the dispute resolution method agreed upon. So here comes the enforceability tip. Now, one thing that often trips up enforcement, paper or electronic, is the stamp duty. Now, I've spoken about it enough, but I would reiterate. Now, if your contract was supposed to be stamped, say a high value contract in Maharashtra attracts stamp duty, and you didn't pay it, the document might not be admissible in the court until you cough up the duty and the penalty before the court. It doesn't invalidate the contract, but it causes a delay and extra cost. So, always handling stamps for big contracts. Yes, even in digital ones, you need to use e-stamps. That way, even it's time to enforce, the focus stays on the breach and not on the administrative hiccups. Now, coming to the last segment of this e-contracts video, let me tell you about the best practices for e-contracts execution and safety. Now that you know that e-contracts are legal and how to enforce them, let's ensure you do it the right way. Here are some best practices for executing, storing, and protecting your digital contracts. Number one being choose the right e-sign method. Now, for critical contracts, use secure digital signatures either through a DSC token or an Aadhaar e-sign services. These methods are legally presumed valid and have a built-in tamper-proof feature. Now, many vendors, example Legality, DocSign India, Adobe Sign India, integrate with Aadhaar e-sign or Indian CAs. They will walk the signers through an OTP or USB token process. It might take an extra few minutes, but it adds a strong layer of legal defensibility. For less critical or internal documents, a simpler e-sign like an email confirmation or scanned signature may suffice, but always weigh the risk involved. If in doubt, or the other side for more security or anything high stakes. Another thing you need to keep in mind is include an e-signature clause. Now, it's good practice for your contracts, now especially master agreements and better with the vendors or the partners, to include a clause that explicitly says that parties agree that this agreement may be executed electronic and such electronic execution will be legally valid and binding. This heads off any argument about we never agreed to sign electronically. While the law is on your side, having a mutual agreement in writing eliminates even the hint of doubt. So it also shows the intent of both sides to treat electronic signatures as equivalent to physical. So another tip, very important one, is ensure clear audit trails, which I've spoken about before also. So whichever platform or method you use, make sure it records who signed and when. For example, if using email, keep the entire thread of the communication. If using an e-sign services, download the audit report that often comes with the signed PDF. Now, note things like IP address, timestamp, certificate, serial number, etc., which can serve as evidence in court of law. If multiple signers are involved, ensure each one's action is separately recorded. Now, most good e-sign platform handle this and even send a complete contract to all the parties. Guys, the goal is that later you can demonstrate the integrity of the contract, that it hasn't been changed since signing, and the authenticity, that it was indeed signed by the person who is in question. Now, the another important thing is that you need to have a secure storage for digitally signed contracts. Now, treat digitally signed contracts as you would the original paper contracts. Store them separately, ideally in a dedicated digital repository or at least in a well organized, accessed, controlled folder. Back them up. Please do cloud backups for them, because the contract is only as good as your ability to produce it when it is needed. Also, retain the files in the original electronic format if possible. A printout of a digital contract is not original. The PDF file with the signature metadata is. So keep the file as it is. So if you ever need to go to court, you will produce the electronic version with a hash value to show the integrity, along with the print if required, plus obviously the section 65B electronic certificate that I've been talking about. Now, if you only have a printout and lost the original e-file, it complicates to proving the original or the originality of the document. Another important thing you cannot forget is regularly update the signing certificates. If you and your business use DSC tokens, note their expiry days. DSC usually are valid for 1 or 2 years. Renew them timely. And expired certificates can still be the evidence for the document signed while it was, but you cannot use an expired certificate for new document. Also, keep the USB token safe. It's like a stamp of your signature. If someone else accesses it and signs something, it is presumed that you have signed this unless you prove a theft. Now, use strong pins and password for your digital signature devices and never share them with anyone. Another very important thing is to verify and validate, guys. I don't have to speak about it. Whenever you receive a contract signed by the other party digitally, verify the signature. The PDF reader like Adobe will tell you if the signature is valid and certificate is trusted, or if the document was altered post signing. If you see any warning or an unknown certificate, erase it. You might need them to re-sign with a proper Indian CA issued certificate or use a different method altogether. Don't just file away a digitally signed contract without looking at those details. A quick verification can save the headache for later, guys. Like instances catching someone signed but edited a clause afterwards, the signature would show them as invalid. Another best practice for e-contracts is training and awareness. Now make sure that your team knows that e-signing is a serious legal step, not just clicking a candy. Especially operational or sales staffs who might be executing contracts day in day out, train them for the basic reading of the contract before signing, same as paper. Checking that the document is final, no blanks, no markups, no comments left, and confirming the other party's identity. Example, if they send a doc sign link, ensure it's actually from the correct email and the domain. A little awareness goes a long way in preventing social engineering scams and mistakes. I have made a very detailed video of scam proofing a business and how these e-scams are actually happening in the business, which I'll be linking it up here. Please go and have a detailed watch if you want to actually scam proof your business. Now, for example, there have been frauds where the scammers send fake contracts linked to trick the companies. Treat an e-contract email with the same caution as you would a physical document delivered for signing to your office. This brings us to the end of the video. Embrace the e-contract era wisely, guys. The future of business in India is undeniably digital. With the laws like Information Technology Act and the Aadhaar Act enabling modern solutions, digital signatures and e-contracts are not just tech fads, they are a legal reality. You can sign $1 million deal with a few clicks and have full confidence that they are enforceable in the courts. Indian courts have upheld e-contracts from email agreements to documents signed via Aadhaar OTP. The key is to do it right. Use legally recognized e-signature, keep the records, and be mindful of the few scenarios where traditional ink is still required. For Indian entrepreneurs and the business owners, this opens up a world of efficiency. No more couriering the documents back and forth or flying across country just to sign a contract, right? Just make sure you follow the best practices and remain compliant with the laws applicable, like stamping and etc. If a dispute ever arises, you know how to show that your digital contract is rock solid under the law. So step in this new age of digital contracting with confidence. It's faster, it's convenient, and yes, it's legal and binding. By being informed and prepared, you can leverage e-signatures to propel your business forward without worrying about the enforceability. As always, when in doubt, just consult. But hopefully, this breakdown has armed you with practical knowledge to navigate the world of e-contracts safely and successfully. Thank you for watching this. I hope you find this little knowledgeable. Do give it a like or subscribe for more practical legal insights. Have you ever tried e-signing a document in your business? Let me know your experience or question in the comments below. Stay tuned for more tips on simplifying legal hurdles in your entrepreneurial journey.